Welcome to the last lesson. You've made it. And there's probably a few things you're super excited about, lots of things swirling about, things that you could do to improve your operations. There's probably some things you just don't want to deal with, and some things you're just uncertain about still. And that's okay because entrepreneurship is an evolutionary journey about learning, right? How to improve the product or service, how to improve your operations, how to scale your organization is a constant learning process, and each organization is uniquely different. But what we want to do in this final lesson is learn to celebrate the things that we've accomplished and look forward to the things that we want to accomplish. In this lesson, we're going to talk to you about three things, right? First is just how to scale for growth, right? Things that I've done as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur in education three times, and I've scaled each one of those organizations. And that's a particular type of growth and goal that you might have. We're also going to give you advice. Kauai's going to give you advice as with her experience as a solopreneur and why she's striving for that goal of the perfect work-life balance. Finally, we're going to talk about different ways we celebrate our success as entrepreneurs so that we continue to remain motivated and inspired by the journey that we're on. So here are my tips if you are looking to grow your business from yourself to hiring your first employee or starting to build your first team. These are some of the things that you really need to do in order to allow you to scale in that way. First is you just need to learn how to trust others to do the work, right? Like a lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially in the early days, you have this vision for how things should be done. And then you want to do it exactly the same way. You can't trust others to do it. And really, you got to trust others to do the work in their own way, following the framework that you have. And this is what I talked about earlier, like how to broaden your impact also. The more people can take on some of the concept and the mental model that you're presenting to them, but they're going to have their own slight twist to it, that's okay. But you're going to broaden your impact by allowing more people to kind of be champions and ambassadors and facilitators of the kind of work that you envision. So trust others to do the work. Second is moving from working in the business to on the business. I've heard this a lot of times, like they can't grow the business because they're always working in the business. All that means is they're just too focused on actually doing the delivery work, and working on the business is they want to sit back and do the strategy, the networking. And the reality is what I find when people say this is they actually like doing the work and they don't like doing the sales. They really don't like doing the strategic work, which is how to actually increase reach, right? Like, how do you take your idea and a few customers and increase reach and make a greater impact? And they'd rather just do the work and see the immediate gratification from doing the work. And so you got to make a mindset shift to go from working in the business to on the business. Along with that concept, like if you're starting to introduce contractors or full-time employees and you're thinking about scaling, again, you're going to increase your impact when you transfer your knowledge to others. The more you transfer your knowledge, the more there's a multiplier effect, right? So if you become a multiplier, that effect, becoming a multiplier, is really training others to do the work that you envision so that it can scale. And when they train others, then they'll continue to scale and it continues to exponentially grow. Finally, you just have to develop systems and processes that allow you to save time. And here are some tips that I have. One, I try to do certain activities on a particular day. So there are things like compliance, accounting, um, just day-to-day business maintenance stuff. I just set aside a particular day to do those things. There's specific ways I've learned to organize my filing system and naming conventions that I've learned over time that work well for me. And so you just want to figure out what frameworks that you want to use to operate your business, and then just do that consistently until you get to a point in growing your business that maybe that doesn't make sense anymore. And then you got to come up with a new design and then operate under that new model. But these are some things that really help me have organized thoughts, dedicated and focused time on certain activities that are really important, like networking, growing your business, managing sales, doing delivery, allocating concentrated time for that, and then using extra time to do the accounting, the day-to-day tasks, and things like that that require less brain power to manage.
So, if I had to share kind of the one thing or the primary thing that really keeps my work and life balance, I think if I had to sum it up, it would be something like flexibility within structure. What I mean by that is, for example, I set a general plan for how many hours I might work each week, for example, and I'll leave room for things to shift. I'll actually literally block out times in my calendar for flexibility. And it's that kind of structure plus flexibility that helps me, I think, stay grounded and without feeling overwhelmed or behind when plans change, because inevitably they will. The other thing I also think a lot about is how to make work feel more like life. And what I mean by that is, for example, if I have to travel somewhere for work, I will try and meet up with a friend in that city. And if I don't know anybody in that city, I'll look on my LinkedIn to see if there's somebody within my network that maybe I haven't really gotten to know. And I ask to share a meal with them. And my whole intention is to get to know them better or to catch up. It's really not to sell work, but inevitably, they will ask me about what it is I do. And sometimes things will come from it and sometimes they don't, and that's okay. Or I will try to create some meaningful or fun little experience that's local in that place that I'm visiting. And I think it's a small way to kind of make a trip feel like it's mine and not just business, right? So I think for me, balance doesn't come from kind of rigid routines. It comes from building just enough structure to guide me and enough freedom to make space for joy.